Will Social Security be there for you when you retire? Maybe. My name's Matt, and I used to work for the Social Security Administration. I worked there over 15 years, and I was a technical expert, and I handled some of the most difficult cases. I have a lot of experience with Social Security and Medicare, so I want to share that with you so that you avoid some of the mistakes that I saw that were fairly common, and I want you to have a good experience signing up for your retirement and your Medicare. So whenever I tell people that I used to work for the Social Security Administration, if they're younger than me, they just goes right over their head. They have no idea what Social Security is. If they're older than me, they have a lot of questions about it. And the most common question is, will Social Security be there for me when I retire? So I want to explore that because there's all sorts of clickbait and doomsday type headlines out there that you'll read online and videos that you'll watch. And so first of all, let's just answer the question, will Social Security be there for you when you retire? Most likely, yes. So this fear has been around. The fear that Social Security is going to be gone has been around since the program was created in the 1930s. I really have looked into the history of the program, and it has always been a fear. Let me kind of explain why. This whole thing needs sort of an explanation here so that you have an idea what's going on with Social Security. In the 1930s, the country was in the middle of the Great Depression. Poor Herbert Hoover got the blame for this, and there was a bunch of homeless people living in places they called Hoovervilles. Franklin Delano Roosevelt ran for office on a platform that he was going to balance the budget. And as soon as he got into the office, started spending money as fast as he could get Congress to approve it. And he set up all these programs, they call them alphabet soup programs, because there was the WPA and the CCC and the TVA. I mean, there was just ton of government programs that they set up in order to get people back to work. Well, one of the programs that he set up was Social Security. And at that point, every other country in the world, all the modern countries, developed countries, had some sort of a Social Security program. Now, this was a major endeavor for America because America was the most populated country to have a Social Security program. Almost instantly, almost overnight, they had to piece this thing together. It was really quite an amazing process that they even put it together and got the whole thing running. It was challenged in the courts as well, and the courts approved it. Now, they had to deal with the problem of funding it. How do you fund it? You're going to pay benefits to retirees who had no money, along with a lot of other people in the country. But these are people that not only couldn't a lot of people find work, but these are people that couldn't work anyway because they were elderly. Well, what they did was, and I'm going to use my iPad here to draw some of this out a little bit. Excuse my bad handwriting here. But what they did was, in order to start paying for the retirees immediately, they took money from the workers and sent it through the Social Security Administration straight to the retirees, which at the time you had to be 65 and older to claim it. Today, 62 is the start date. So they immediately taxed the workers, and that money went directly to the retirees. So Social Security was just kind of a conduit there to get that to the retirees. Because again, they didn't have the luxury of, okay, let's tax you now while you're working and then pay you later when you're retired. There was a bunch of elderly people that they had to get paid immediately. So we call this a pay-as-you-go program. One of the issues that you could maybe imagine here is, how are you going to get the exact amount of money from the workers that you need in order to pay the money out to the retirees as they need it? The number of workers and the number of retirees, those numbers are shifting all the time. So how are you going to get the exact amount right on? So you're either going to be a little short at times or collecting a little too much at times. Essentially, what they've done off and on over the years is save some money away in a trust fund. And that money is sitting there to be used if there's a shortfall in the number of workers able to pay for the number of retirees. And indeed, the number of workers to retirees early on was quite a big number. There was like 10 to 1 or 20 to 1 or something crazy like that. And today, there's only like 3 to 1, so people are very concerned about this. Now, what they're really discounting is the fact that when the baby boomer generation was being born in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and all that, the government realized there was this massive number of population here. And so they were setting aside money in the trust fund to pay for that big population when they retired, which started happening in about 2012 or something like that. So at that point, it was about 2012 when the Social Security Administration started running short on this money right here. Okay, that's the point at which they had to start dipping into the trust fund to help pay the retirees. Now, that wasn't a big deal. They actually had the biggest surplus ever at that time here in the trust fund. And that's because all those years that the baby boomers were working and paying it. I'm oversimplifying things a bit here, but I'm just trying to give you the concept. So now the trust fund is helping to pay for the retirees, and it has been doing so for about the last 10 years. Where you hear the doomsday scenarios is that this trust fund is going to expire or run out in about 2033. That number has shifted a couple of years here and there based on the economy. And then at one point, the disability trust fund was actually on the verge of running out. And so then they borrowed money from the retirement trust fund to pay for the disability trust fund, which was barely a blip on the retirement trust fund. It only affected it by a year or two because the retirement fund is so much bigger than the disability fund. So that kind of gives you an idea on how the trust fund works. Now, let's say the trust fund is gone. Let's say it's run out, it's depleted. Well, there's still workers paying money in to the program that is going out to the retirees, but it's not enough to cover the benefits. So what the number that you hear in the media a lot is 79%. It's about 80%, meaning that there'll be enough money coming in from the workers to pay about 80% of the retirement benefits that are due. Adjustments have always needed to happen with Social Security because, again, it's just impossible to get the right numbers of workers to retirees. So adjustments are nothing new. The program was actually in worse shape in the 1980s. That's when they started having federal workers pay into the program, and that really helped it out a lot. That's also when they started taxing the Social Security benefits, and that really helped it out a lot. So the million-dollar question, of course, is whether Congress will do anything about the trust fund running out of money in about 2033. As it was in the 1980s, it was literally months away from running out, that trust fund, and that's when they made the changes in the 80s. So I imagine, knowing Congress, that they'll wait until the last moment to change things as well. Now, we're about 12 years away right now. They're probably going to change it as we get closer. I can go into this in another video, but the common solutions that people float out there is, hey, let's tax. Well, it usually always comes down to taxing the rich more. And so the common solution is, hey, let's tax the rich on all of their earnings. Currently, people only pay Social Security tax up to about $130,000, I want to say. I can't remember the exact number, but up to about their first $130,000 of earnings in a particular year. Anything over that, they don't pay Social Security tax. They do continue to pay Medicare tax, but not Social Security. So that means if you're a $500,000 a year earner, the bulk of your wages are actually not taxed by Social Security. My guess is that will be the solution that they go to. Kind of the quirk to that is, if you're going to have those rich people pay Social Security tax on all their earnings, then you're going to have to pay out Social Security benefits to those people when they retire. And if they have super high earnings, then you're going to be having to pay out more and more benefits. Unless you kind of say, on all that income, we're essentially not going to return your dollar, or we're going to return it at a very, very small amount. And that's my guess. If I had to kind of lay a bet on this, that's what I would say is going to happen, is they're just going to tax the rich on their benefits and not pay them much in return. So I hope you got something out of this video. I hope you learned something. If you liked it, please do click the little thumbs up there. That really helps me out. If you want to get more videos on your feed, click that subscribe. And then if you want to get the videos on your phone, like a ding on your phone when I publish a new one, click that little notification bell. I really do appreciate any support. Can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I'm just trying to spread the good word and help people get through the Social Security process. I hope you like this, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.